Two container ships sat broken on the rocks, their hulls split open. A silver sheen spread across the bay as daylight crept through the fog. Inside the darkened lighthouse, Andrew Cole stared at the disaster below, a cease illumination order crumpled in his hand.
They told me to dim it, so I did. Now, there is oil in the water.
The order read, "Cease all illumination immediately. Failure to comply will result in daily fines of $5,000. Signed, Mary Winthrop, HOA, View Preservation Chair."
That rotating beam is a sleep nuisance. We have a dark sky ordinance, and I will see it enforced.
The board votes 9-2 in favor. Andrew, you will have to turn it off.
I have kept that light burning for 30 years. Now I have to choose between my home and the law.
That night, Andrew pulled the old brass switch. The great Fresnel lens went dark for the first time in a century. Within hours, a thick fog swallowed the coast. Without the beacon, the channel became a trap. On the bridge of a container ship, the radar showed a black hole where the lighthouse should have been. The captain's curse was cut short by the screech of steel against stone. The screech of steel gave way to a deep groaning rumble as the ship settled onto the reef. Fuel bled into the water, iridescent under the emergency lights. Andrew Cole gripped the cold iron railing of the lighthouse gallery, watching the masthead lights of the stranded ships flicker and fail.
I should have fought the order. Instead, I surrendered the one thing that kept sailors safe.
In her waterfront home, Mary Winthrop was jolted awake by the thunder of rending metal. She threw open her balcony doors.
What is that? Number? No, the light. I made them turn it off. This is. Someone will blame me.
Within minutes, a Coast Guard cutter sliced through the fog, its searchlights raking the wreckage. Crewmen scrambled to deploy absorbent booms.
Get me the status on the Point Reyes light. That beacon should have been visible. Why was it dark?
Mary, answer me. The lighthouse was out. 2 ships grounded. We voted to shut it down. This is a disaster.
We voted on a nuisance. That light was not our responsibility. This is an act of God. How could we know?
By dawn, the tide of consequence was already rising, and every house in that development sat in its path. The HOA's private beach became a command post. EPA investigators in white suits marked oil samples while news helicopters beat the air overhead.
Captain Cole, your lighthouse is listed as an active aid to navigation. Why did you extinguish it?
Because I was told to. Because I could not afford the fines. And now I cannot afford the weight of this.
Before Andrew could answer, Mary Winthrop pushed through the gathering crowd, her voice carrying over the wind.
This is a private community matter. The light was a nuisance, and we exercised our legal right to demand its cessation.
Legal, right? You bullied us into that vote. You said it was just about sleep.
Under federal law, willful interference with a navigation aid is a felony. This is no longer a neighborhood dispute.
A felony? No one said anything about. The responsibility lies with the lighthouse operator, not the board.
By midday, the shipping consortium's legal team had already filed notice, citing the extinguished beacon as the proximate cause of the disaster.
I told them the light was more than a light. Now the law will decide who is to blame, but the sea already has its answer.
The HOA board huddled in emergency session. Mary sat rigid at the head, her coral blazer a defiant flag amid the panic.
This is exactly why we needed that light off. It was a hazard to residential peace. A commercial accident has nothing to do with us.
Nothing to do with us. The Coast Guard says otherwise. You signed that order. This is on you, Mary.
I was acting for this board. If there is liability, it falls on all of you. You voted. You cannot pretend you did not know.
At the lighthouse, a process server handed Andrew a thick envelope. Inside, a tortious interference suit seeking $187 million in damages.
187 million. More money than this coast has seen since the gold rush, pinned to my decision to flip that switch.
Commander Hartley sifted through the HOA subpoenaed emails. The cease and desist order lay on top, Mary's signature unmistakable.
The paper trail is damning. A private entity extinguishing a federal aid to navigation for aesthetics. Someone is going to prison over this.
National news anchors framed the story, not as an accident, but as a crime. Coastal HOA faces federal probe after ships ground. Mary's name was no longer anonymous.
The tide does not ask who gave the order. It just rises. And now it is rising for all of us.
Andrew stared at the lawsuit for an hour before picking up the phone. His call went to the only name that mattered now, Rebecca Stevens, maritime liability attorney.
Miss Stevens, I need someone who understands the law, not just the sea. If I go down, I want to make sure it's for the right reasons.
Your lighthouse is a federal aid. If the HOA forced you to darken it, that's interference. I'll need every document, board minutes, emails, the cease order itself.
Across town, the HOA board met in closed session. Their own attorney had grim news. The carrier was denying coverage, citing intentional acts exclusions.
That's absurd. We didn't intend for ships to crash. This is a simple nuisance abatement. I refuse to let them frame us as criminals.
Mary, we voted 9-2 to shut down a registered aid to navigation. The policy doesn't cover deliberate acts. We're all personally exposed.
Then you should have voted no. I merely put the motion forward. You were all so worried about property values that you didn't think.
At the lighthouse, Stephen spread old logbooks across a table. One brittle page showed a 1952 Coast Guard registry, Point Reyes Light, a mandatory aid to all vessels.
This is ironclad. The HOA's order was illegal from the start. We have grounds to countersue for declaratory relief and damages. Andrew, this could flip everything.
They wanted me to drown in fines. Now I'll show them what a real anchor looks like. For Grandpa and for every sailor who ever trusted that beam.
Andrew and Stephen spent the next 48 hours drafting a counterclaim. The evidence was strong, but the air in the lighthouse felt heavier with every hour.
We file on Monday, but Mary will retaliate. She's already spinning the story. Expect a smear campaign.
Smear campaigns are just headwinds. I've sailed through worse, but I won't let her sink this light again.
That evening, Andrew found the word murderer scrawled on the lighthouse door. A can of red spray paint lay in the gravel.
So it begins. Mary will try to make me the monster, but the truth is anchored in that registry.
Jim Hartley's car pulled up moments later. He emerged pale and fumbling, clutching a manila envelope.
Andrew, I am sorry. The board is panicking. Mary is threatening to sue us individually if we don't support her public nuisance petition.
You voted with her. Now you want me to save you. What's in the envelope, Jim?
Mary's petition to the county. She wants your lighthouse condemned as a public nuisance. If it passes, they'll order it dismantled.
Andrew took the envelope and walked back inside. He set it beside the 1952 registry document. Two paths lay before him: succumb or arm for a fight. Andrew didn't sleep. By morning, he was on the phone with Stevens, the public nuisance petition, spread open on the table.
They're claiming the light is a public nuisance under the county's dark sky ordinance. But federal preemption should block that. We have to counter it at the hearing.
They're trying to erase history. That light has been here since 1887. It's not a nuisance, it's a sentinel.
Stevens uncovered an archived email. Mary had written to a county commissioner months before the vote, promising to bring the light into compliance.
She knew it was a registered aid. This email proves intent to interfere, not just a nuisance complaint. We can use it to discredit her at the hearing.
But the hearing was set for Friday, only 3 days away. And Mary's campaign in the neighborhood was already in full swing.
Captain Cole's neglect caused this disaster. His light blinded drivers, and now his darkness has killed sailors. We must protect our community from his recklessness.
Jim, now terrified of Mary, fed Andrew snippets of bored chatter. They planned to pack the hearing with supporters, drowning out any dissent.
Then I'll bring the truth myself. The Coast Guard registry, the emails, the sea. They'll have to listen.
As the hearing drew closer, the oil sheen spread further up the beach, and a tarry smell hung over the community. The reckoning was coming, and it would not be silent. The community center was choked with residents 2 nights before the hearing. Mary had distributed flyers showing Andrew's face beneath the word "wanted" in red.
She's turning the neighborhood into a mob. But I've got more than flyers. I have the law.
Late that night, an urgent email arrived from the EPA. Preliminary cleanup estimates had jumped to $12 million. and climbing.
12 million on top of the lawsuit. They'll try to bury me under numbers I can't climb.
I've filed to consolidate the tort suit, the nuisance petition, and the federal interference motion into one hearing. It forces Mary under oath.
Mary slammed the phone down. Her attorney had confirmed the consolidation would trap her under oath. Every email, every signature exposed.
I do not testify in public. Get the commissioner on the line. We need a temporary gag order to shut Cole up.
Jim intercepted the request and rushed to the lighthouse. He pounded on the door until Andrew appeared.
She's trying to gag you before the hearing. You need to go public tonight. Call the press. Show them the documents.
Andrew looked up at the dark lantern room, then back at Jim. He nodded. The truth would have its say before the gavel fell. Andrew and Stevens worked through the night, scanning documents for a dawn press conference at the base of the lighthouse. Cameras would catch every word.
Once this goes live, Mary will have nowhere to hide, but the blowback will be fierce. Are you ready?
I've faced rogue waves and mutinies. A press conference is nothing. The truth is my sea anchor.
At first light, a dozen reporters gathered on the gravel. Andrew held up the cease order in one hand and the 1952 Coast Guard registry in the other.
This lighthouse is not a nuisance, it's a federal aid. The HOA's order was illegal, and that night, 2 ships paid the price for their arrogance.
Mary watched from her balcony, her face bloodless. She dialed the county commissioner again.
You assured me the dark sky ordinance would hold. Now he's on every screen. Stop the hearing.
But the commissioner declined. The clip had already trended nationwide. The hearing would proceed as scheduled. As the sun rose over the oil-slicked bay, the community center filled early. Some clutched Mary's wanted flyers, others held printed copies of the 1952 registry.
Today, the truth gets its day. Whatever the gavel decides, at least the light will have spoken.
The commissioner gavelled the hearing to order. Mary's attorney stood first, dismissing the federal registry as irrelevant to local noise ordinances.
Objection. 14 U.S.C. Section 83 preempts any local nuisance claim. The light is a federal aid. Ceasing it was illegal.
This community has suffered sleep deprivation and plummeting property values. Our dark sky ordinance protects residents, not cargo ships.
I kept that beam burning for 30 years. Not for property values. For the sailors who used it to live.
Stevens slid the 1952 registry and the cease order toward the commissioner. The 2 documents sat side by side, separated by 70 years, but pointing to one truth.
He can't prove I knew the dark sky petition was signed after the accident. The board will carry my story.
I have the email. Mary wrote to the commissioner months before the vote. She knew the light was federally registered.
That's a fabrication. Hartley has no standing to speak on private property matters. This is a coordinated attack.
The commissioner banged the gavel repeatedly, but the room had devolved into shouting. Mary's carefully orchestrated hearing was imploding under the weight of paper and law.
The gavel hasn't fallen yet, but for the first time, Mary is on the defensive. The current is shifting.
Commander Hartley pushed through the doors, a sealed evidence envelope in his hand. The room went quiet.
Commissioner, I have a document from the U.S. Attorney's Office. It's a pre-vote memo from Miss Winthrop, acknowledging the Lighthouse's federal registration.
That memo is privileged. It was never meant for public record. You can't use it.
I've seen that memo. She distributed it at a closed board session. She knew exactly what she was doing.
The commissioner's eyes narrowed as he read the memo. The dark sky ordinance suddenly looked like a weapon.
Your Honor, this memo proves willful interference under 14 U.S.C. Section 83. The HOA's order was not a nuisance complaint. It was a deliberate act.
She lied to the board, the county, everyone. And now the law has her signature.
Mary's attorney tried to object, but the commissioner silenced him. Federal preemption was no longer theoretical.
There's more. The EPA has classified the oil spill as a criminal environmental disaster. Charges are being prepared.
The hearing had become a hearing of a different kind. The gavel was still poised, but the real judgment was already being written in federal ink. The commissioner recessed the hearing without ruling, citing the need for federal consultation. Mary gathered her papers with trembling hands.
This is a travesty. We'll appeal to the state level. Local government is clearly compromised by federal overreach.
Mary, the federal suit just expanded. The consortium is naming every board member personally. We're not protected.
Outside the community center, a process server handed Mary a second envelope, a $187 million tortious interference suit, naming her as the primary defendant.
The sea doesn't distinguish between a captain and a passenger when the ship breaks apart. They're all about to learn that.
Now they'll come to you for help. The other board members, they'll beg for a settlement. You hold all the leverage.
Andrew, please, we were wrong. I'll testify against Mary. Just don't let us lose our homes.
You came for my light. Now you want my mercy. Tell me, Jim, where was the board's mercy when the gavel fell 9-2?
Andrew closed the door and walked to the lantern room. The dark Fresnel lens seemed to wait. He could turn the mechanism, flip the switch, make everything right, or leave them all to the storm they'd chosen.
The choice isn't just mine anymore. It's the Coast Guard's, the courts, the laws. But maybe I can still choose what kind of man I'll be when this is over.
Stevens arrived at dawn with a flash drive. She plugged it into Andrew's laptop. A spreadsheet of Mary's financial transactions filled the screen.
I took a deeper dive into Mary's finances. 3 months before the vote, she formed an LLC to purchase the parcel adjacent to this lighthouse.
She wasn't just protecting views. She was speculating on the darkness. Every night, my beam swept the coast. It cost her money.
The LLC filing showed a contract with a resort developer, promising premium waterfront lots once the navigational hazard was removed.
This turns her from an annoying neighbor into a federal criminal. Intent to interfere with navigation for financial gain carries up to 10 years.
She wanted me to dim it. And when I didn't, she used the board to force my hand so she could profit from the wreckage.
If we release this, the federal case solidifies. But the board members will be destroyed. Jim, the others, their homes are collateral.
The dark lens loomed over them. The switch was inches away, but turning it on prematurely could violate the court's pending orders.
The law can punish her, but what about the family she used? Do I become the destroyer, or is there another way?
Stevens held up the flash drive. This was the nuclear option. Once triggered, it would end Mary's freedom, but also shatter the community she had manipulated. Andrew stared at the flash drive in Stevens' hand. Somewhere inside that plastic shell was a choice that would define the rest of his life.
If I use it, Mary goes to prison, but Jim and the others lose everything they own. Can I live with that?
We could release it to the U.S. attorney now. It guarantees a conviction. But the board members' homes will be seized as evidence. There's no separating them.
Andrew, please, my wife is packing. We'll lose the house. I'll sign anything. Just give us time.
He's begging for mercy while Mary's lawyer files appeals. If I wait, she might escape, but if I rush, innocent families pay for her crimes.
Commander Hartley's voice crackled over the Marine radio. The Coast Guard was preparing to impound the lighthouse as a crime scene unless Andrew submitted a written statement by noon.
Captain Cole, the evidence chain must be preserved. If you don't provide that document, I'll be forced to seal the entire property. Your decision, now.
I'll give this statement, but not to trigger a raid. I want a settlement meeting. Mary, the board, the Coast Guard, the consortium, all of us in one room.
It was a gamble. If the meeting failed, Mary could use the delay to bury evidence. But if it worked, he might save both the justice he wanted and the families she dragged under.
The light has been dark for 10 days. If I am wrong, it may never shine again, but I have to try.
The U.S. attorney reluctantly agreed to a 48-hour stay, but Hartley's voice was sharp. If no signed agreement by Friday, the warrant would execute.
She's hired Bennington and Cross. If you don't get signatures, they'll bury us in procedure. The clock is ticking, Captain.
At her attorney's office, Mary received the settlement summons. She tore it across the seal without reading.
He doesn't get to dictate terms. He's a retired captain, not a judge. I'll see him in open court, not some backroom deal.
But her attorney slid the pre-vote memo and the LLC filing across the polished table. The federal evidence was unassailable.
Andrew, she'll never agree. She's cornered, and cornered people fight dirty. I've seen her shred reputations for less.
Then we make the alternative worse. Prison is the other option. This settlement is her only escape hatch.
Stevens filed the settlement proposal with the court, binding all parties to confidentiality. If it failed, the flash drive would be released automatically. By Tuesday, the oil slick had reached the marina. Dead fish lined the shore. The EPA announced it was considering criminal charges against every board member.
I've pushed all my chips into the center. If this fails, I lose the light, my home, and any chance of justice. But at least I tried.
The settlement meeting convened in a sterile conference room downtown. Mary arrived flanked by 2 attorneys, her expression unreadable.
This is a charade. You have no authority to summon me here. We'll see you in court next week, Captain.
Before you walk out, look at these. The LLC filing, the resort contract, and the pre-vote memo. It's all here.
Mary's lead attorney flipped through the pages, his face tightening. He leaned over and whispered urgently in her ear.
Here is the deal. You resign from the board, the LLC dissolves, and you sign a confession of interference. In return, we don't send this to the U.S. attorney.
You want me to admit to a federal crime and walk away with nothing? Go ahead, send it. I'll take my chances.
Your chances are 10 years in federal prison and a $187 million judgment. This is the only exit.
Mary's attorney caught her arm, speaking rapidly. The color drained from her face as she turned back toward the table.
Fine. I'll consider it, but my signature comes with conditions. Immunity on the wording, and the board pays half the cleanup.
Andrew and Stevens exchanged a look. The room held its breath. The clock on the wall showed 4:47 p.m., 13 hours until the warrant.
You'll pay the full cleanup, Mary. Every dollar. The board pays nothing. In exchange, we bury the LLC filing and the memo, but the confession stands.
That's millions of dollars. You'd bankrupt me. I won't agree to that.
The alternative is 10 years in prison and a $187 million judgment. You'll lose everything anyway. This deal keeps you out of jail.
Mary's attorney whispered again. She closed her eyes for a long moment, then nodded slowly.
I'll sign. But I want the flash drive, the only copy right now, and I want it destroyed in front of me.
If I hand this over, I have no leverage. She could walk away and the evidence goes dark. But if I don't, we all drown. Fine. Stevens, give her the drive. But the confession is signed first. And one more thing. You resign from every board, trust, and community position.
Mary took the pen. Her hand trembled as she signed each page. The confession, the dissolution of the LLC, her resignation letter.
It's done. We'll file the confession under seal. Breach it, and the original charges are reinstated.
Outside the building, the first light of dawn touched the oily bay. The clock read 5:22, 38 minutes before Hartley's deadline. The settlement stood, but the lighthouse still waited. Andrew drove straight to the lighthouse. Hartley's cutter was already waiting offshore, the deadline minutes away.
Captain Cole, we have the signed settlement. The impound order is rescinded. You are clear to re-illuminate.
Andrew climbed the spiral stairs, his hand brushing the cold stone. The lantern room was exactly as he had left it, dark and silent.
30 years, I've kept this light. One night I let them take it. Never again.
He gripped the brass switch, the same one he had pulled to obey Mary's order. This time, he pushed it forward. The great Fresnel lens hummed, then began to turn. The beam swept across the bay, cutting through the last of the fog. On the water, the Coast Guard crew saw the flash and gave a brief horn blast. The beacon was back. Mary watched from her window, the light strobing across her face. She drew the curtains and did not look out again.
Andrew, the federal monitor order just came through. The lighthouse is permanently exempt from any local ordinance. You are the authority now.
He stood in the lantern room, the beam sweeping the coast he had protected for 3 decades. The HOA would answer to him now. The first HOA meeting under Andrew's monitor was silent. Jim sat at the head, his hands flat on the table, waiting.
The board will cooperate. You have the authority, Andrew. We just want to keep our homes.
Mary's house was quiet. A foreclosure notice lay on the hall table. The bank had moved faster than her lawyers.
The dark sky ordinance is revoked. The lighthouse stays on. Any future complaints must come through me, and they must cite federal law.
By summer, the oil cleanup was complete. The beach smelled of salt again, not solvent.
The shipping consortium dropped the individual tort suits. The board is safe as long as they comply with your oversight.
Justice doesn't always mean destruction. Sometimes it means standing in the wheelhouse and making sure no one else crashes.
Mary's home sold at auction. She moved inland, her name removed from every board roster. The resort development was scrapped.
The light sweeps the coast every night. It always will. Not because they allow it, but because it's right.
And for the first time in months, Andrew slept through the night. The familiar rhythm of the lens, a heartbeat in the dark. Andrew woke to a rare calm. No lawsuits, no orders, just the beam's whisper. He walked the rocky point to the lighthouse door. Inside, the logbook lay open. He dipped a pen and wrote in a steady hand, Point Reyes Light, restored to service. No further orders shall darken it. A week later, the Coast Guard affixed a bronze plaque by the lighthouse door, registered aid to navigation, protected under 14 U.S.C. Section 83.
Andrew, the investigation is officially closed. Mary's confession will remain sealed unless she violates terms. The shipping consortium is satisfied.
Satisfied? They got their millions, but I got my light back. That's worth more.
That afternoon, Jim brought a bottle of whiskey and a handshake. The board had voted to retire the View Preservation Committee permanently.
You could have buried us. Instead, you gave us a chance. I won't forget it.
Andrew poured 2 fingers. For a moment, the only sound was the low hum of the lens above them.
Sometimes the best revenge isn't punishment. It's making damn sure the right thing happens every night without fail.
That night, the fog rolled in again. But this time, the beam cut through it, clean, and every vessel beyond, charted or not, knew exactly where the rocks ended. A year later, the Point Reyes Light still swept the coast, its beam unchallenged by any board or ordinance.
No fine, no dark sky ordinance, no HOA can touch this light now. It's as permanent as the rock it stands on.
The community had settled into a quiet respect. Mary's name was a faint cautionary tale, and Jim Hartley had become a genuine advocate for maritime safety. Andrew spent his mornings polishing the brass and his evenings logging the beam's rotation, a ritual he never tired of.
The sea doesn't ask for thanks, but it remembers. And I've made my peace with it.
Sometimes at dusk, a passing freighter would blow its horn. 3 short blasts, a salute from the bridge. From the tower, a hand would raise in silent answer. His logbook filled with simple entries. Clear night, light operational. Each line a quiet victory. One evening, a young boy from the neighborhood knocked on the lighthouse door. He wanted to see the light switch. Andrew let him push it. The boy's face lit up as the beam burst forth. Andrew watched, his hand resting on the cool brass, the weight of a hard-won piece in his smile. The beam swept the dark horizon, a steady pulse against the night. And as long as Andrew Cole drew breath, it would never go out again. In the quiet hours before dawn, Andrew would climb to the gallery and watch the beam sweep the empty sea.
I used to think this light was a burden. Now I know it's just a promise, kept every night.
He no longer counted the ships that passed safely. The absence of wreckage was enough. Sometimes he would find a fresh bunch of wildflowers on the doorstep, left by a neighbor who never signed their name.
Thank you, whoever you are. You've paid more than any fine ever could.
The bronze plaque by the door, tarnished with salt and time, but the words remained sharp. One calm evening, Andrew climbed to the lantern room, pulled the brass switch, and then stepped back, watching the great lens begin its turn. He didn't wait for the beam to reach the horizon. He simply turned and walked down the spiral stair, leaving the light to its ancient work. Outside, the night was clear and cold. The beam cut across the bay, a steady, silent guardian, and on the rocky point, a single light in a window stayed on, a small, steady glow beneath the turning beam, a keeper still keeping watch.